His generosity will receive the same hard questions and suspicion that unearned generosity receives today. We're told that Boaz is a prominent man in Bethlehem. Will some people think less of him because he's giving special favors to a Moabite, a despised foreigner? Well, we know some people will, of course. They'll be saying the same things we say today, right? But she's never worked here before. Can we trust her? She won't be paying taxes on any of that. We've been working all year in this field. We planted, we weeded, we harvest now, and then she just waltzes in and gathers what she wants without doing any of the work, and goes home and eats. Shouldn't we, the workers, get special privileges too? You're just giving it away beyond all that the law requires. Anyway, don't you think you're on a slippery slope to losing everything? You know how they talk. Those poor people, those foreigners, they talk among themselves, and they know who's just giving it away. Next year, they'll be all over your field like a swarm of locusts. You just wait, Boaz. Despite all this whispering, though, Boaz gives generously to Ruth. I wonder why. What inspires generosity? What leads us to give to others in the same way that God generously gives to us? I'm guessing here in this story, but deep faith may be one reason. Those laws from Leviticus that suggest that doing a sloppy job of harvesting isn't the sin of sloth, but is actually justice, comes from a very important belief. This law comes from a belief that the land belongs to God. Private ownership is just for accounting purposes. It really just got societies into trouble because some had it and some didn't. Don't fool yourselves, Leviticus says. The land really belongs to God. Everything it produces belongs to God. This is why we give our first fruits. It depends on God for everything, and so do you. God owns, we rent. Now, it's one thing to hear this idea. It's another to internalize it and act on it. We hear it and say, yeah, right, whatever, preacher, but when I get home and put on my slippers, those are my slippers. I'm not giving those slippers to anybody. But if we can open ourselves to this idea that everything really belongs to God, then good things begin to happen. This idea encourages gratitude. We begin to see the land not as a possession or a right or something we've earned with hard work. We see the land as it is, which is a gift. This goes for the land or our houses or money or whatever. It's all a gift. It's all given. We respond to God's grace with our own effort. And I'll say that again. Of course, we respond to God's grace with our own effort. We engage God's grace with our own gifts. But that doesn't change the fact that it all starts as a gift. And all our stuff is really, at its core, gift. And when we open ourselves to this idea that it really belongs to God and is at the heart of everything, then we don't feel the need to hold on to our stuff as tightly. We can give some away and not feel like we're actually giving a part of ourselves. We can give away an arm and a leg and not feel like it's actually our arm or leg. It's God's arm or leg that we're giving away. Just as we try to find ways to keep a dollar circulating in local economies, we begin to realize that our generosity is simply recirculating gifts through God's economy. I also think Boaz is inspired by the generosity of Ruth. God's grace and love are moving throughout the story. But they have a multiplying effect, like loaves and fishes over time. Through love, Ruth recklessly gives herself to Naomi. And then God finds a way to lead Ruth to Boaz. And then Boaz has a choice to be generous or not. And it sure seems like Boaz is inspired by her generosity and is moved to give graciously as well. Boaz has plenty of chances to pull back. Certainly there are many voices telling him to keep his grain to himself, but he sees what generosity can do. Plain and simple, generosity gives life. God's generosity gives life to us. Ruth's generosity gives life to Naomi. And likewise, the generosity of Boaz will give life to Ruth and Naomi as they live together in the land. God gives to us. And then God calls us to respond to the needs of others. We are called as well to give to the poor, the orphan, the widow, the foreigner. We are called to open ourselves and be vulnerable like Boaz. The promise is that as we do, somehow, we will participate in God's life-giving work, and that our simple actions may have impact far beyond what we can see in the moment. May we be grateful and open and courageous. May we be able to see the opportunities that God sends our way. Amen.